Hey, y'all, welcome back to the Late Night Vision Show. This is episode 211. It is Thursday. That means it is time for another episode. And this episode is going to be so big, we have two scopes that we're reviewing. So to get into that, and before we get into the main part of what we're going to be doing today, I want to introduce my good friend, Jason Robertson, the owner of Outdoor Legacy, the man that makes this show happen, not just gracing us with his expertise, but adding a little bit of humor to our lives every week. So,
oh my gosh.
What's going on?
The humor is
you?
if somebody was sitting here watching me, I was fighting this microphone stand, trying to get this microphone. Where
Every
I
week.
needed
It's
it.
the same
So,
thing.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Well, we've got a review. So we are reviewing the Bearing Optics. This is the Hogster 25 and 35 Vibe. So there's been a lot of questions. People still calling and asking about the Hogster 25 and 35, but they don't know that the previous model has been discontinued yet. They've heard about the Vibe. They have no idea what it is. We're here to clear up all the confusion and pack it into a review for you all in one. And as always, y'all, we're going to be doing specs. Of course, we're going to be doing specs. You're going to get to see a little bit of video through this optic, as well as hearing our thoughts on it, our likes, dislikes, everything in between. And you're going to hear stuff here that hopefully you're not going to hear anywhere else. So thank y'all for joining us.
All right. I cannot get comfortable where I want this microphone. So I know y'all are tired of watching me move it around, but I'm moving all over the place. But something doesn't feel right, and I don't know what it is. So, folks, listen, we appreciate you coming, checking out this review. First thing we want to say right off the top is if you're looking for any kind of night vision or thermal optics, especially these Hogster Vibes or anything else, please, check out our website, Outdoor Legacy Gear, G-E-A-R, outdoorlegacygear.com, or give us a call, 877-350-1818. Hans and I would be glad to answer any of your questions about these optics and help you with the purchase. We would love to have your business. We'd greatly appreciate it. It means a lot to us. But today we are going to jump into the Hogster Vibe 25 and 35 review. Now, I'm going to go ahead and get this out of the way on the front end. One of the questions that we get all the time is, what is the difference in a Hogster R25 or a Hogster R35 and the new Vibe 25 and 35? A lot of times it's guys that already own one of the Hogsters, and they're like, oh my gosh, what's different? Do I need to sell mine and upgrade? Or maybe it's just somebody who's, the Hogsters, the R25 and 35 have been super popular for a couple years. People will see them out there. Their buddies got one. They've seen a review. They've seen something. And so now they're like, hey, what's this Vibe? Is something new? So I'm going to clear this up right here early. This way, this may be all the information you're looking for in this review, and you can, sign off right here. Hope not, but maybe. And that is a Hogster Vibe 25 and a Hogster Vibe 35 are the exact same scope as the Hogster R25 and 35. And I do mean the exact same. They, same housing, same image quality, same specs, same internals, same everything. The only difference is the Vibe models now include video recording, internal video recording on the scope, no audio, but just video, as well as Wi-Fi, so you can use a smartphone app for streaming or, playing back your videos that you record. That's it. That's the only difference. Now, I also want to be clear. I had a guy the other day who said, okay, I don't care about video recording. Sell me the Hogster R25. I'm like, well, those don't exist. These are a replacement. So I just want to be clear. This is not a secondary model. It's a replacement model. But that's it. You just get the scope, same image quality, same everything. You're just getting video recording and Wi-Fi streaming. But let's go ahead. For everybody else who is interested in these, wants to know more, let's jump into the specs on these. So we are talking about both the 25 and the 35. I'm going to go over the specs here first of just the things they have in common. And so the Vibe 25 is $2,295, and it is a 1.4 power base magnification, Actually, I'm going to tell you the things they don't have in common. That's what I meant to say. It's a 1.4 power base magnification with a 25 millimeter lens. It has a field of view of 78 feet at 100 yards. So if you look through this at night, 78 feet left to right horizontally is what you're going to see at 100 yards. Now, going to the 35 model, it is a 35 millimeter objective. It is $2,595. It is a 2-power base magnification, 35 millimeter lens, already said that, and it's got a 56-foot wide horizontal field of view at 100 yards. So the big takeaway here is basically $2,295 or $2,300 for the 25 at 1.4 power base mag, and $2,595 or rounding up $2,600 for the 35 with a 2-power base mag. And I'll just go ahead and just mention this now so we don't have to mention it again later. Confusion comes. People think that the larger objective lens means a wider field of view. They get confused right here because they say, wait a minute, the field of view is narrower on the 35. That's because it's a higher magnification. And that's the way that these thermal optics generally work, is higher magnifications will normally have a narrower field of view even with a wider lens, just generally speaking. Now, let's jump into the specs that really matter, where both of these scopes, share the same specs. They both are a 384 by 288 resolution for the thermal sensor, 17 microns, 50 hertz refresh rate. They have a 2x, 3x, and 4x digital zoom, so you can zoom them up basically a maximum of 4 times the base magnification digitally. They have an LCOS, that's a liquid crystal over silicone display, high resolution, 1280 by 960. Again, that's the display, not the thermal imager. It's a 384 by 288. Startup time is about 5 seconds or less. The actual dimensions and weight on the 25, it's about 7 inches. I can't even read these. The specs are so small. They're basically within a quarter inch of the same size. About 7 inches by 2.8 by 2.36. So very small. The 25 weighs 16.4 ounces. The 35 weighs 17.14. So they're basically the same weight at 16 and a half, 17 ounces. They take 2 CR123A lithium disposable batteries. However, you could run the rechargeable 123 batteries if you want to do that. There is a setting in the scope. You can change the voltage and use those rechargeable batteries. The scopes also take a USB external battery pack. So just any standard normal USB battery pack that you would charge a cell phone or a tablet or something like that, that will run these scopes for a very, very long time, which you might want to do if you're hunting in very cold conditions or, you're just out in the field for very long hours. Battery life, we're generally going to say, about 3 hours on a good quality set of CR123As. Now, you may get more than that. You may get less than that. A lot of that's going to depend on, how you're using it. Are you recording a lot of video? Are you using Wi-Fi? How cold or how hot is it? What brand of batteries? All that, plays into it. But generally speaking, about 3 hours in the field is a pretty fair, normal, expected use. The scopes are IPS 6-7 rating. That's a waterproof and dustproof. The unit is completely submersible to 3 foot for 30 minutes in water. They have 4 different color palettes. They have picture-in-picture. They have 4 zeroing profiles, so you can zero it on 4 different rifles. 4 reticles with 4 different color options. They have, as I mentioned, the video, no audio, internal video recording, and the Wi-Fi streaming. They have a 4-year warranty. We really like that. The standard in this industry is about 3 years. So getting that extra year of warranty over, the average competition is really nice. We like that 4-year warranty, gives you some peace of mind spending this kind of money on an optic. And then last thing I want to just talk on real quickly is kind of the ID ranges. Now, folks, we'll talk here a little bit more about who we think the optic each one is good for, and maybe which one, generally speaking, you ought to be looking at. But identification range, I think it's pretty fair to say a hog, a coyote, a small animal like that, maybe a deer, 200 yards. On the 25. Depending on the conditions, because it's a lower magnification, there might be some times it's only 175 yards. But I think 200 is pretty general. The 2-power unit, the 35, I'm still going to say 200. You might stretch that out sometime in really good conditions, or a little bit larger animal to 250. But again, I just think a safe place is saying about 200 yards ID range on both of these, in normal conditions. Hans, did I leave anything out in all of my rambling there?
No, you get through all of it, and there's a lot. 2 different scopes, the differences and the similarities, it's a lot to get through. But I'm going to show the scope right now because that's what people want to see. You can tell, if you're wanting to know, this is the 35. So the 35 and the 25, like Jason said, they're almost identical, other than the objective lens on the 35 obviously is a 35 millimeter. It's got the plastic lens cover case. Closure there. The 25 is a 25 millimeter objective lens with a rubber eyepiece cover or lens cover. So that's really the only differences. Other than that, the size, everything else looks the same. So you've got your objective lens focus here by the lens. It's just a dial that you turn right there. You've got your eyepiece diopter focus right here in the front. You've got 3-button layout on top. I want to talk a little bit about that. It's important when you get this optic, with any optic, really with anything, is to read the directions, because you want to make sure that you know exactly, since there's only 3 buttons, well, this scope does a lot more than 3 things. So you want to make sure that you understand, because with these buttons, whether you long press it or short press it, it could do different things. It may ask you to, hit 2 buttons at the same time, press 2 buttons at the same time to do a function. I know that if you hold 2 of the front 2 buttons down at the same time, it'll put it in standby mode. You can also refresh the screen by holding 2 buttons down. So make sure you know what the series of actions there are. Read the directions, because the 3 buttons do multiple things within the scope. On the side, you've got the battery compartment right here. It's just a twist open. Now, you want to make sure that you can see it. That's where it holds the CR123, the 2CR123. It has a string on the battery door so you don't lose it. But whenever you are closing this, you need to hear 2 clicks. That if you hear 2 clicks, that means that it is completely shut. If you only want to hear 1 click, or you're not paying attention and you go out and shoot it and the screen goes black, 99.9% of the time, if I hear that, it's because the battery door is not shut properly. So you got to make sure that you hear 2 clicks whenever you put the batteries in. This is a Bearing Optics branded quick release mount. So we've tested this. We've sold hundreds of these scopes. The mount works just fine. We've taken them on and off the rifles. I'm always switching scopes over to different rifles, and every time I've taken this off and put it back on, they've worked. Like I said, this model, these optics with this mount has been sold for a number of years now, and hundreds of them just by us out on the market, and they work just fine. But what I will say, when you get this optic, do not take this mount off yourself, because that runs into some warranty issues. It will come to you already attached, and it's not permanently attached, but in your mind it needs to be permanently attached, unless you want to do something else or contact Bearing about having another mount put on there or whatever. Just know that you don't need to take it off yourself. But the QD mount worked just fine. It's not necessarily a locking quick release, because there's no locking lever on it, but the thing tightens down hard enough that it's not going to back off itself. But again, that is the Bearing. This is the Bearing Optics 35, so you're getting a chance to see it if you're watching right now. If you're not watching, you're listening on our audio only version, you want to see what it looks like, go check out the YouTube video. But very small in size, can be used multiple of uses. If you want to use it as a binocular, you want to stick it in your bag and go hiking. If you're a deer hunter, you just want to take this out to get in the stand. Or obviously if you want to shoot with it. I mean, these things are small enough and I would say light enough that when you put it on your rifle, it's hard to even feel that it's on there. So that is the walk around, y'all.
So, Hans just brought up a great point. I think it's important is because of the size, the compact size and the weight, these do work well as a monocular as well. A lot of guys, some guys will buy them just for that and say, hey, well, I can always slap it on a rifle if I need to later. But a lot of guys like to maybe in the off season or maybe just when they're not using it, take it off. Like Hans said, use it, while they're deer hunting, use it camping, play around with it. Guys use them in their businesses, HVAC, exterminators, lots of different options for these things. And the Hogster Vibes are small enough. You can stick them in a bag, you can and stick them in a, maybe a big coat pocket or something. They're just really a good size for hand holding and to use as a rifle scope. Generally speaking, these optics are fantastic. I mean, I say generally speaking, meaning these are a well-rounded optic for the money. You're just getting a good image quality. Now you're getting the video recording, you're getting the Wi-Fi streaming. And folks, if that's something that you're listening, you're going, wow, I wish I'd have bought one before because I don't need all that. Well, listen, it doesn't, it's just there. You do not have to use it. If you don't want to record video, don't record video. If you don't want to stream this thing, don't turn on the Wi-Fi. I mean, it's not causing you any trouble to be there in the menu. Just don't use it if you're not interested. But a lot of guys are glad to finally have this option in this scope. And I think that for the price of these units, rounding here, but $2,300, $2,600, this is one of the scopes that has opened the door to allow more people to get into legitimate quality thermal optics. And we're really glad that these scopes have got all the features, all the options. I mean, we're talking about picture-in-picture, multiple rifle zeros, all the color palettes, all the stuff. It's a full-featured, really nice optic.
I remember hearing about it, a few years ago when people were talking about these Hogsters, and this is really, the Hogsters were just really out on the market. Bearing Optics is not a new company. Y'all, they've been around for, we probably need to mention that they've been around for quite a long time, focusing on night vision primarily, but they hit a home run with the Hogsters. What really put the Bearing Optics products in the limelight here in our industry and what we do at night hunting. So when we start hearing the first things about the Hogsters, everybody was going crazy over them, and we got one. We were testing them. We believed them enough that we wanted to become a dealer. But these things, really, you're exactly right. This got a lot of people. We could not believe. I remember seeing it for the first time. We're like, man, these are really, really good picture. And this was a few years ago, y'all. And we're like, man, this is a great picture image. And the price at the time, I mean, even at, $2,300 and $2,600, under $2,600, that is still considered, pretty inexpensive for thermal. And, this brought right after that is really when I think the industry started to really explode and more people got into it. It really, like you said, opened the door for a larger number of the market, a larger number of the people out there that wanted to get into night hunting, and made it a lot more affordable. And they were getting in and getting a good quality optic. So, man, this was the start of the explosion of this industry when the original Hogsters came out.
Yeah, and so I think what's nice about these units is you're going to get a lot here. You're going to get, again, I'm going to kind of reiterate some of the things we said. Good image quality, small, compact, lightweight, full featured. And I understand that $2,300, $2,400, $2,500, $2,600 is a lot of money. But for thermal and for the quality you're getting, it's a very reasonable price. You're getting a lot for that. And so I want to talk about a couple things here. One of the things that I know Hans and I deal with a lot is guys say, I don't know which one that I need. And obviously, I mean, we're all consumers. We generally gravitate to, hey, this one's a little less money. Is this the one that I need? And heck, I agree. If you can save money, do it. And my answer to that is maybe. I think that the 1.4 power is definitely going to be geared more for the hunters that are shooting mostly under 100 yards, guys that are probably even mostly shooting under, say, 60 or 75 yards. Sometimes this is guys that are hog hunters. They do a lot of spotting and stalking. They get really close. Maybe it's guys who are, shooting small varmints, coons, possums, armadillos, that sort of thing. The occasional hunter that's again maybe just trying to again, I talk about armadillos and stuff. I have guys that buy thermals for nothing but that. And if you've got a nice yard and you've ever had an armadillo problem, you will spend more than this to kill armadillo.
Yeah.
I mean, they will destroy a yard and flower beds.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, they're miniature
little
hogs. Yeah.
Well, and I've been hearing a lot from raccoon hunters that, man, I didn't know it was as popular as it is, but I'm getting all kinds of calls, and they all want, the lower magnification, the wider field of view, for looking up in trees.
That's right. So a lot of coon hunters are gravitating. So I think the 1.4 is really good for that. That's the 25 millimeter. I'll be honest. I'll tell you this just right up front. For $300 more, the 2-power optic is going to be the best bang for the buck, the best all around. And the reason I say that is, let's just say you're hunting possibly coyotes. If I'm hunting coyotes, I would buy the 35 no matter what, even if you're mostly shooting under 100 yards. You're shooting a smaller animal, and I think, most of the time, most people aren't shooting all their coyotes at 20, 30, 40 yards. You're generally going to be a little further. So you're going to appreciate that little extra magnification, especially if you have to start shooting out there in that 125, 150, or maybe even 200 yards. Is the 25 model, is it possible to shoot that far? Yes. Is it really going to do as good of a job as the 35 is? No, it's not. The extra magnification, and that's something I want to talk about here real quick. I won't go too far down the rabbit trail. And some of our listeners that, are familiar with thermal, they're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. If you're new to this, maybe a little confusing. So you'll hear, well, it's a 1.4 power, but it goes up to 5.6, or the 2 power goes up to 8. So I'll just zoom it to 8 power. What's wrong with that? I'll zoom it to 5.6. Well, that's digital zoom. Yeah. And so every time you digitally zoom up your optic, you're going to lose resolution and you're going to lose image quality. And so just realistically, if you take one of these scopes and you take from its base mag, we'll use the 25, 1.4 power, you zoom it to 2.8 power, you have cut your resolution in half. So you've gone from a 384 by 288 to a 192 by 144 resolution, and that has cut your image quality and clarity in half. So the animal looks bigger, but you have half the information there, half the pixels. And so it gets grainy. Now, you can use it at that 2.8, but when you zoom it again to that 5.6, it's going to be grainy, blurry. You're not going to be real happy there. That's just the way thermal scopes work. That's not a criticism of these vibes. That's how digital zoom works, and that's how it especially works in these thermal optics. So with that said, if you take the 2 power and you zoom it up one time, you're going to go to 4 power. That's a little more magnification than that 2.8. I mean, that's significant out there, especially when you're trying to, squeeze off around at something at 125, 150, or maybe 200 yards. So with that, I guess I would just kind of come back around and say, if you're really doing a lot of close range stuff, you're needing these in tight areas, you want that field of view, I think that the 25 model is good. I think it'll work great for you. I think if you're hunting, again, possibly longer ranges, possibly shooting out over 100 some, I would, for $300, I think I would take the upgrade to the 35. I don't want to just throw out $300 like that's nothing. I know it's money, but if you've got 2,300 and you're thinking, I might could use that 2 power, just piggy bank that, get $300 more, and then go with the 35. If you know you're not going to be doing a lot of long range stuff, I mean, you're really going to be staying closer range, then hey, I wouldn't even think twice. 25 will do you great.
The 35 is definitely much more popular than the 25 in sales.
Yeah.
Jason, I don't know how many more of the Hogster 35s are sold over the 25s, but it seems like a significant amount. But you're right. In most cases, the 35, that 2-power base magnification, is really going to be the best fit for almost everybody. I'm going to tell you, even if you're shooting close range stuff, the 2-power is not too much magnification, but at least you have a little bit more range with the 2 to 8 power.
Yep.
You're, like you said, it's $300 more, but you would rather have a little bit too much. I won't say too much.
Yeah,
have
that's
a little
dangerous
bit more
thing to say.
Yeah, you almost want to have a little bit of magnification, even if you're not going to use it all the time. Now, not significantly more, but you want to have the ability to use the range, even if you're not going to be taking 200-yard shots. But it's going to make definitely a 2-power is going to make a 100-yard shot a lot easier than a 1.4 power scope. I'll tell you that.
So I know exactly what you're saying, and what I think what he's saying is,
you'd rather have almost a little bit too much magnification rather than not enough magnification. But yeah, you're right. That's a double-edged sword.
And I think that what we're talking about is 2-power is not too much. Okay,
Right,
2-power is
exactly.
not a lot. I don't think Hans would say, well, you're better off buying a 4-power than a 3-power because you might want to shoot long
Right.
range sometime. He's not. I
Exactly.
mean, going from 3 to 4 is a big difference than 1.4 to 2. 2 is
Correct.
still low, still a wide field of view.
Right.
That's one thing. We mentioned a 70. I'll put my notes up. 78 foot and a 56 foot wide field of view. A lot of people go, well, I don't really know what that means. 56 foot wide field of view is still considered a wide field of view in thermal optics. Okay, that's still really good. 78 is really wide. Okay, that's and I'm going to do this math here again. I was thinking it was wider than 78. Something was in my mind was making me think it was about 81, but no, it says 76. So maybe my math's wrong. It's 76. Whatever. Either way, those are both really nice wide field of views. But anyway, I think on the magnification that kind of helps. And look, if you're not sure and you don't know which one of these is right for you, holler at us. I mean, call us. We can help you figure out which one would work better. You can tell us a little about your situation. But I want to talk about, this is something we like to do. We like to nitpick these optics. I'm sure the manufacturers don't like it, but we want to find the things that we think could be improved or that just aren't our favorite in an optic. And there's no perfect optic. The first day that somebody creates the perfect optic at the perfect price, I guess we can all go home and close down the late night vision show and it's a done deal. But so far it isn't. So every scope's got some room for improvement. And I think on this one, I'm going to have to nitpick because for the money, there's a lot of value here. A couple things, Han mentioned the menu and the 3 buttons. I really wish that. Go ahead.
And I want to explain the menu real quick too, because it is a series of icons. I know you can't really tell just from us talking about it, but you have to know what the icons mean. And I'm going to tell you, as much as I've used this scope and Jason's used this scope and we've used every model that's come out and hunted with them quite a bit, somebody may call up and they're like, what does this icon mean? And I'm like, I don't have one right in front of me. Let me do that. Let me call you. Let me turn one on and get it and call you right back. Because the icons, right off the top of your head may not make any sense. So definitely,
and that's true on any thermal scope.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it is true. It's just whenever you're moving your menu and you're scrolling through the different menu options, it's got an icon, but it doesn't. There's no text to the side or anything saying what that icon is, really, to tell you the truth. So it's important, again, read the menu. Not a huge negative, but
the manual.
What did I say?
The menu. Read the manual.
Read the menu and the manual.
That's right. Together.
It's a small negative, but you're going to need to know exactly what the
it's not a big deal. I tell guys this all the time. We sell a lot of these scopes. I mean, a lot. And we sell them to a lot of times older guys that say, listen, I'm not good with technology. I'm scared about it. They buy one and we don't ever hear from them again. You know, you read the manual, you sit down, you can figure it out. Not a big deal. I think that Hans mentioned the battery door. That's not a negative. It's just something that if we get a phone call and a guy says, and this isn't the only scope with this kind of design on a battery door, not even the only brand, okay? But when we get a phone call that's a scope that has got a battery compartment door like this, and a guy says, my scope goes off when I shoot it, or sometimes I jiggle my scope and it goes off, or I go immediately. Make sure you've got full charged batteries. And you know, I'm gonna go rabbit trail here, but I have seen CR123A batteries be dead or weak out of the box. It's weird. I don't know why, but I've seen it happen more than once with multiple brands over the years. So I always say, if you're not sure, even if you well, they're brand new. Well, I don't care. Go get two more just to be sure. Get two more batteries. And that battery compartment door, just like Hans mentioned earlier, you really got to press it in, make sure it locks all the way down. Second click, that's going to make it completely waterproof because it's got an O-ring there. And it's also going to keep those batteries tight against those springs so they won't bounce or vibrate during recoil. Keep your scope on. So it's not a negative.
We also had I talked to a guy recently that said, he bought his batteries from Amazon. He's like, they're the same brand of battery, you know, the Energizer lithium battery. They were talking about CR123s. He's like, they're the same ones that I've always used. I bought them on Amazon. And he just got a batch of really bad batteries. And he went to the store and bought some more, and it was definitely the batteries. So I've had that issue too. I've bought batteries on Amazon, and they gotten them like, man, I'm not getting near the runtime I should out of these things.
Yeah, I saw it with some Surefire and some Streamlight batteries one time. It was a strange deal. It was a buddy of mine, and his scope was, half the time it worked, half the time it wasn't. It was this. I like to never figured this out, but eventually he brought it over. I put my batteries, everything was great. And I finally was like, give me your batteries. And I'd start putting them in and it'd work. And I just started testing batteries. Figured he had two brand new packages of batteries and some were bad. Weird deal. Anyway, moving on. I would say one thing, very minor criticism on the 25 model. It has a different lens cap. So the 35 has that plastic, rigid, hinged lens cap that Hans showed there. I like that a lot. The 25 has got a small rubber lens cap that's got a little tether. So when you pull it off, it just kind of dangles there, which is fine. It's not in the way. It's a little short tether. But when you go to put it on, sometimes, you've got to like get up there and kind of, it's tight rubber and you kind of got to open it up and press it on. It's not a big deal, but I really wish the 25 had a small little rigid lens cap like the 35 does. And I think this is not a negative because we've already talked about the mount, but I think there's a lot of confusion on the mount. And sometimes, there's some LaRue mounts that Bearing has available for these. And I think sometimes people are like, well, this doesn't have the LaRue mount, whatever. My opinion is that's an additional $200. I think we kind of start getting out of the good value of these optics. I like the mount that's on it. This is not the negative. I think that the confusion sometimes, because I know there's some guys out there saying, oh, the mount's not good. Mount's great. Okay. Yeah. I think I would leave the mount the way it is. Value for the dollar. You start changing this mount out, spending another $200, buying an upgraded mount. I think at that point you need to start looking at, Super Hogsters, other Bearing optics that are going to be more expensive, nicer optics. So that's it. Now, all right, we've kind of gone over that. There's really not much negative there at all. But Hans, tell them what we like about it, because there's a lot here.
I get to deliver the good news. The picture quality is going to be the biggest like. Man, for $2,300 or $2,600, whichever option you choose, picture and image on it, really, really good. 384 resolution. And they've maximized their performance out of this optic as far as the clarity of the picture. Can't say enough good things about it. And, it's why Bearing Optics, like I said before, is on the map. It's why so many people love their products and especially love the Hogsters, is because of the picture image. People have seen and a lot of it has been spread by word of mouth. But now with the vibes, you're going to see a lot more videos with this thing on social media, because people can actually start capturing good quality video image and upload it to social media. So there's gonna be a lot more, I think a lot more popularity that's going to come out of these 25 and 35 vibes, even more so than the previous. But the picture image is going to be number one. The size, the compactness of this scope, being able to use it as a monocular or as a rifle scope. I mean, think about it, y'all. Not everybody out there that buys thermal is a hunter. There's a lot. With the times that we're in right now, we are talking to a lot of people that say, you know what, I just want to use it to look around my property. I want to use it. I like to hike, and I want to take it on a hike. I want to see if there's at night, if there's bears around our campsite or wherever. But if something happens and I need to defend myself, I want to have something that I can put on a rifle. These are not people that are, that hunt all that often. These are people that just want to have it just in case. And for that, they're using this as something that they can spot with, that they can use, for entertainment, but it does give you the ability to mount it on a rifle and have an effective tool if you need to defend yourself, your family, your land, whatever. So that's an important feature of this, being able to have multiple uses, the size, like I said, being able to put it on and have a quality mounted weapon sight is really, really good. The fact that, I think that these things are fairly easy to operate, and a lot of people out there, well, like, yeah, to you it probably is because you use this stuff all the time. But like Jason said, hundreds and hundreds of these things have been sold. To a lot of you that say that you hate technology, and you get it and you figure it out. So the great thing I think about what Jason and I, a lot of people out there just see the videos and they see the YouTube and they hear and watch and they call us and like, man, we love the videos. But a lot of what Jason and I do behind the scenes is we're talking to our customers that have purchased from us, and we're offering customer service. We were talking yesterday about how many calls that we're taking now that, we have so many units in circulation right now. A lot of the calls are customer service. We understand that sometimes you do get out on the shooting range and you forget your instruction manual, and you need to figure out how to do something. People call up and say, Hans, I'm here on the table and I'm trying to figure it out how to sight this thing in, and us offering our help. But that's what we're here for, and that's what we do. This optic is not hard to use, just like I would say it's just in line with all the other brands out there as far as ease of use. But if you get stuck in a bind, that's what our customer service is for, and that's what we provide. Yep. Other likes, Jason, I think are the obvious things. I mean, it does come with a quick release mount. Yes, we are snobs for name brand mounts. We love our mounts. We love our American Defense mounts, but the mount that comes on it, again, it comes with the mount already attached.
A lot of scopes there's a lot of scopes that are that even cost more than this that don't come with a quick detach mount. Don't even
come with mount. And the guy, I talked to a guy, I was like, yeah, and the mount's already mounted for you. And the guy was like, sold. The fact that he didn't have to mount it himself, because that intimidates a lot of people too. People stress out about, especially mounting, in 30 millimeter rings, about making sure it's perfect. This thing is mounted for you. And it comes to you ready to go. All you got to do is pop in batteries and run. So there's a lot of likes, man. So they've improved this scope. Again, same great scope, couple great new features on it.
Yeah, a couple things that I want to touch on the likes is, a 4-year warranty. It's a good deal. Mm-hmm. Like we said, average in the industry is 3. 4 years gives you a long time. I mean, that gives you the option of, using it. Maybe you're going to sell it and upgrade. You got plenty of warranty when you sell it. I like that. I mean, it gives you, I always tell guys, amortize that out. I mean, 4 years, this is really what you've got. And if you're uncomfortable, like, well, I don't want something to happen in year 6, well, man, sell it before the warranty's out. Keep it 2 or 3 years and sell it. But it gives you plenty of time. There's a lot of things. I mean, I've bought some stuff before that, may only have a 1-year warranty. I bought some stuff that has a 90-day warranty, and you get it,
Yeah,
and then you're
yeah.
like panicking, like, I got to use this thing quick, make sure there's nothing wrong. You don't want to throw it to the side and forget about it. But man, 4 years, that's a long time. You got a lot of use, a lot of figuring out if there's, any defects or anything, which, would be unlikely. Again, we like the video recording. That's a good option. It's funny. I had an email yesterday from a guy talking about this exact unit. And he said, I've been looking at the older videos of the Hogsters, 25 and 35, because there's not a lot out about the vibes yet. And he said, I was not impressed with the videos that I saw. And he said, does it look like that through the scope? Or was that just because of the video recording externally? And I was like, no, that's the video externally. The Hogster, 25 and 35 looked the same through the optic as this does. The video recording didn't do it justice. I think now we'll start seeing, a more realistic example of what you'll see through the unit with this internal video recording. And even then, I still think, I don't care how good the video recording is, you really need to look through a scope. That's where you get the best image. But definitely the video internal is going to help. And then, as Hans said, the price, again, very good value for the dollar. My advice is this: if you're looking to spend less than $3,000 on a thermal optic, something that's a rifle scope, these optics need to be on your list. If they're not on your list, to start, going through, then you got a problem. You're not looking hard enough. You need to put these on the list, and you may put them on the list and go, okay, now they're on the list. Now what? We'll give us a call. We would be glad to help you, whether it's talking about these Hogster vibes or any other thermal optics or anything else. Bering's got, my gosh, Bering is adding to their line of optics all the time with their super popular Super Hogster. Now we've got the Super Yoders. We've got new models of Super Yoders, less expensive models coming. So Bering is really making waves out there. And I know all these models get confusing. You're like Yoders, Hogsters, Supers, what? Give us a call, man. We're glad to help. You can call Hans and I at Outdoor Legacy at 877-350-1818. You can always go to the website, outdoorlegacygear.com. I know a lot of guys will call me and they're like, man, I'm on your website and I've kind of got my price range down. I'm looking at these scopes. I've tried to read about them, but I don't know any more than I did. And I was like, this is where we're here to help. When you are ready to make that purchase or getting close to that and you need that help before you pull the trigger, give us a call. Let us hear what you're doing, hear where you're at, what's going on. We can advise you and say, you really ought to look at this, or, hey, this one, don't look at this. This doesn't fit your, the way you're going to be using it or hunting with it, whatever. We're glad to help you with that. We would really, really appreciate your business. And it's one thing that I was, telling Hans, a guy told us the other day, he called me and he said, I really didn't know you sold scopes. I was really confused. I thought y'all were just advertising for Outdoor Legacy. I was like, no, this is our business. This is what Hans and I do for a living. It's how we feed our families, and as well as the ladies that work with us here in the office, Angela and Michaela. And like Hans talked about our customer service, we're here for you, not just before you buy it, but afterwards as well. If you can make the purchase from us, then we're glad to help you after the sale. So we would really appreciate your business, guys. If you are, you like this kind of review, but you really want to see more videos, you want to see more stuff from in the field, maybe a shorter, more, compact review, go over to Hans's channel on YouTube. That's HANSETX for Hans East Texas. And you can find his reviews of a lot of optics. He's behind, just like we are here, trying to review everything, but he's putting those reviews together as quick as he can. And you can also go over and find him on Instagram, the same thing, Hans ETX. He's always posting pictures, short video clips and stuff from hunts on there, so you can find him. And Outdoor Legacy, we've already told you how to find us. We're on all the social medias as well. And the Late Night Vision Show, you found us here. You can subscribe so you never miss an episode. If you're driving in your truck sometime, you want to listen, don't have time to watch We're on all the podcast apps, Spotify. We have the video on Spotify as well. Google Podcast or Google Play. I don't know what they call it. Apple Podcast. All these. We're there. And you can always go to thelatenightvisionshow.com and find more about the show in the past episodes.
Yep. Well, that's a wrap, y'all. Episode 211 is in the books. It's been the reviews of the Bearing Optics Hogster 25 and 35 Vibe. We've got more reviews coming up. Episode 212 next week. Next Thursday is definitely going to be a review. We look forward to bringing it to you. But until now and then, y'all stay safe in the fields. Keep making them bacon pancakes.